Welcome everyone to episode 2, season 1 of the Progression Podcast. I'm Jeremy. This is Zach. This episode not sponsored by Dr. Pepper. So for those of you who haven't seen the first episode, Zach had an open can of Diet Dr. Pepper with him the whole time, and it was pretty much in frame for the entirety of the wide angle shot.
Please sponsor. I love it.
Okay, so yeah, Dr. Pepper. If you want to sponsor cycling's newest and greatest podcast, please let us know. You can reach out via our contact details in the very extensive show notes that we have, right? Okay, we've got a pretty interesting show for you this week. Mm-hmm. A very special bike and bike news. Okay, so this bike belongs to a very good friend of mine. He's a really nice guy, and he is a fast rider. Now, mm-hmm. I know we always say this, right? That they're fast riders.
It's because we're slow.
Yes,
that's why
exactly,
everybody seems fast,
Yeah, exactly. Well, just once, I want to be like, this bike belongs to this guy who's just a wheel-sucking vampire, right? Right? But no.
But that's us.
Yeah, we got to find some. We got to go on the PCN and find someone slower than us.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, in Singapore we have I don't know what the PCN stands for, but it is a mixed-use walking and cycling path.
Is it Park Connector Network? Is it?
Yes,
is that it? Yeah.
Thank goodness we have a Singaporean here to explain all the...
I might be wrong.
Sounds about right. So it's usually a little bit slower. So we'll find someone on PCN and steal their bike to talk about. But no, seriously, Paul is a very, very strong rider. He's a really nice guy. We also ride together on Sundays, and I would say that he is unintentionally the best coach I have ever had.
Oh.
So he always rides at the front. He's very, very fit, and he can sense, and I don't know, it's like he's got eyes in the back of his head, right? He can sense exactly how far back you are, and he will pace it so that it's just a little bit out of your reach.
That is freaky.
Yeah, it is freaky.
That is freaky.
But so yeah, he basically, I think I've received the best coaching from him, even though I don't think he really intended to coach me. So thank you very much, Paul, for all the fitness you've given me. And also thank you very much for lending us the bike. So Zach, SL5, is that, you're a young guy. Is that before your time, or have you worked on a few of those, and have you ridden a few?
I managed to work on a few when it came out early on, thankfully. And then, once the shop was up, and then I get to work on a few more. So not unfamiliar with what it is, but then again, it's kind of past its time, so now it's getting a lot rarer.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's a SL5. Everyone's talking about the latest SL already.
Again, depends on which country. I think in Singapore this is getting pretty rare, but I'm sure in most other countries where people like cycling instead of like bikes, it's still a pretty mean machine, right?
Can't discount the SL5. It performs extremely well.
Okay, so why don't you compare it to the bikes of its time, which I don't remember because I'm a COVID cyclist, but whatever was out, around 2018, well, let's say between the mid 2010s and the late 2010s, what are the other frames available? Talk me through how this is different and how this is the same.
This is, I guess, the crit bike of its era.
But really, so, I would have thought Specialized, if I recall correctly, Specialized had an aluminium bike, right? Or was it the aluminium bike? Now it's an aluminium bike, the Ale, right?
Yes, the Ale.
That would have been the on the books, the crit bike, right?
I don't think so. Now, yes. Back then it was still aluminium. It wasn't extremely competitive, heavy. I would like to say it was very, very, very compliant. It was just a comfortable bike, one that gets you started for road biking. Now obviously it's different, they tweak the geometry. It's a totally different bike from what it began. So but Specialized had an Ale at that point in time. Yeah.
But this would have been obviously the premium road bike. But this would also be considered the crit bike.
Yeah, I would personally use this for crits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nippy, fast, compliant.
Yep.
Not compliant.
Compliant.
Okay. But certainly a bike of its time, right? Like rim brakes. Yeah, I mean, sorry, that's the main differentiator for me. Like, it's just like there's BC and 80. There's before rim brakes.
BC.
Yeah, right. There's also before disc brakes and disc brakes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I came in during the transition. Okay, so nice frame, very interesting wheel set also. Interesting not because the wheel set is interesting because it is actually a set of Zipp 303s.
303, correct. And it's the firecrest version.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So the little badge there, firecrest. Okay, that doesn't mean much in this era now, but back in its time, it was like, whoa, it was an in thing as well to have one of those firecrests as compared to the base, 303, 404s, 808s, whatever not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I say it's interesting because Zipp have just released a new wheel set, which we'll talk about.
And the 353, is it?
No, the 353 and the 303. They released both. Okay?
Right.
So
right.
we'll talk through those.
I was gonna say it may seem interesting to you because you were cycling in AD, not BC. Everyone had these set of wheels in BC.
So this would have been the set of wheels for anyone who wanted performance. Okay.
Yes. And I think they were also one of the early guys to produce not say textured brake tracks, but I think perforated would be a better word for it. So there's a unique sound when you brake, especially when you pair it with harder brake pads. So they'll make this. I don't know whether you hear Paul braking, but when you hear,
I don't think he ever brakes actually.
but you can hear like a very distinct like.
Okay.
Yeah, on a Zipp.
Okay. I will ask Paul to brake next time.
Yeah. Ask him to slow down.
I'll just pretend to be tired. Oh fuck! I can't anymore. Just can you brake? Just slightly press on your. Just feather your brakes.
But this was it during its time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got the spec sheet in front of me. It's 1.5 kgs, which actually feels a little bit heavy, right, for a set of rim brake bikes? Or no? I mean, you tell me.
1.5, man?
Yeah.
I don't remember being it that heavy.
Front
1.5 is with tires, no?
No, it's what I have is front is 640. Oh, fuck, I can't do maths, sorry. No, I can do maths. So rear is 900. Well, rear is 855. Front is 640.
Huh. Okay.
Wow.
Never knew it was that heavy. I mean, it's not very heavy. It's rim brakes.
I mean, it feels heavy to us because I think we have a comparison point with all of the Chinese wheel sets, right? Where I mean, I guess the disc brake bikes are a little bit heavier, but with really crazy carbon spokes and very lightweight hubs.
You got Burt nowadays. They're doing like ultralight spokes as well. So.
What do you think? Have you serviced these kinds of hubs before? So again, spec sheet, Zipp 188. Rear hub, Zipp 88, front hub. Does that mean anything to you?
Once again, it was the go-to spec in that era. This was the later model already. The earlier model came with those little silver ones. Have you seen those?
No.
Oh my god! I sound like the old one now. But yeah, they used to come with that chrome polish on, so that was nice. But nothing much to write home about. They're very easily serviceable. I have no complaints as a mechanic. They work well. The flanges are stiff enough. No complaints.
Okay, good set of hubs.
Yeah.
Internal width 17, external width 28.5, which feels very wide to me for something that was made 7 years ago for rim brakes. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
So I guess Zipp even now they have the Explore range, which is very, very wide. I think their road bike wheels are also pretty wide. So I think would it be fair to say that Zipp's always been kind of leading the way in that respect?
Yeah. Would never say otherwise. They've always been up there and competing with brands like NV. What else do you have? Back then they were competing with the Bora Ultras. Yeah. So it was always a fierce competition. I mean, now the competition is fiercer than ever, right? Because the Chinese are, I think, more than catching on already. They're actually in and competing. Yeah. But back then, those top guys, they were just battling and shout. Yeah.
And I guess the one other thing that's interesting, or interesting to me on this bike is he's got the Favero Assiomas duos, which are essentially the gold standard for, I was going to say pedal-based power meters, but actually just for any power meter, right? They've been around for a long time, and they've been and I think they're the benchmark which someone like GP Llama would use to test some of the other products that he has in terms of the pedal-based power.
It's
meter.
the baseline, It's the
Is
comparison.
it the baseline? I'd say it's the gold standard.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're very, very good. I mean, do you watch a lot of GP Llama?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay, so GP Llama, we'll put a link to in the show notes, but he is the YouTuber you would go to look at power meter tests. I would also say smart trainer reviews. And he's also done quite a few for bike radars, and he is very, very thorough with all of his testing.
Oh, that's good.
And so what he will do is if he is testing a crank-based power meter, he will put on a trainer with a power meter that he trusts. He will also put on the pedal power meters as well and compare three and really try to understand
the readings
and where it changes. And what you'll find is that actually it's not easy to make a good power meter, one. And two, there are instances where different things will throw off the power meter where you don't expect. So he's
have discrepancies.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Shimano crank-based ones that they've had some pretty major issues. The other one that was interesting was Look have their power meter pedals, and I think in most circumstances they perform pretty well. But as soon as I think you try to change the I wouldn't say change the Q factor, but as you're pushing down, you're pushing with more of your outer foot than your inner foot, so not in the not pressing down right in the center as you would typically do. That changes the power readings. So he goes through and figures out exactly why the power readings are off. So he's a very, very good person or very, very good YouTuber to follow if you are going to be buying a power meter.
Get your details there.
Yeah. And I say it's interesting because Magene has released a set of power meter pedals which look almost exactly like this in terms of design.
Yep.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
I would like to say that this is the most modern component on his bike.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's only gotten recently. So this guy has just been getting fit from actually doing the work instead of just focusing on like very
He trains
specific.
for it. He doesn't buy speed,
Well, yes, he trains for it. But also, I mean, like, I think it's one of those things, right? I think once you get a power meter, it's very hard to go back because it really helps you regulate your speed and understand, and it obviously helps you do structured training.
Helps you keep you in zone 2.
Well, zone 2 is the heart rate, right? Or I guess it depends.
Yeah. You don't go by wattage.
I go by what? I guess a bit of both. Like, yeah. But my point with Paul is that he doesn't care what wattage he's putting out. He doesn't care about structured workouts. He just gets fit. He just goes riding and gets fit, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're on you're climbing, and then there's some dude wearing like an old jersey. The old jerseys that are pretty loose with Shimano on it, and he's
the epitome of just do it, right?
Yeah,
That's him.
and then exactly, right? And then they were just like, they're on an older bike. They're older. I mean, Paul's not old, but like what I mean. Like, there's a profile. When you get taken over by that guy, it's just like it's so demoralizing.
Yeah, but he's very practical with his build.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing flashy, honestly. I mean, you want to say, the R1 saddle, you got a little bit of carbon going on, but that's also for practical reasons, right? You get to cut down a bit of weight, you get some compliance, get some flex, so it's more comfortable. But apart from that, he's still using a mechanical 11-speed R8000 group set, stock BB. Nothing special.
Yeah, but actually we didn't talk about the BB, but I again, this is ceramic speed bearings, actually.
Oh, are they?
I mean, I don't think you can see the. I mean, you're looking at it very intently. That's what the spec sheet says.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'll trust the spec sheet because he's running an adapter. He's running the 24 adapter, so I can't really tell. But most of them, when they run adapter, I would just assume that they got some random BB30 and then just kind of like plop it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, ceramic speed. But anyways, it comes with the bike, right? So it's not like he intentionally spent like a couple $100 to upgrade it. Yeah.
Sure. I think that's all we really have for the bike in terms of parts that we would call out. I mean, it's just, it's a great build for its time, and he is using it in good health. I guess that's
I mean, it's a good build even now because you can pick one up secondhand. I think something like this in Singapore for like $2,000 plus.
Is that the Rio special edition?
No, no, of course not. But yeah, you'll be lucky to get one. But you can get a similar SL5 build like this secondhand for like $2,000 plus, maybe $3,000. So it is still a great contender in the current market. Yeah,
and then when I picked it up, it was, I had to say it, pretty light. and then we spend so much money on disc brake bikes trying to get it lighter and lighter, right? But it's a beautiful bike.
What about braking? You didn't get to ride this bike, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, talk to me about the brakes.
Sorry, man. Like compared to modern day standards, even modern day rim brakes, or even disc brakes, right? The braking performance sucks, dude. It is trash. Like dry weather, just now when I went out for a quick spin, you really have to give it a good squeeze before it starts to slow down.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that because it's a carbon wheel set?
Yeah, and I guess over the years, I don't know why it's so glossy. So don't know, is it like did he refurbish it or anything? But yeah, it braked until quite glossy already. And then the brake pads they're using, I have no idea what pads are these, but they don't exactly bite well as well. I assume they are those generic ones that are really hard packed, so they last longer than they do stopping. Yeah.
Okay. But if I have a wheel set like this, a beautiful wheel set, and I choose through all the basically all the carbon, and I came to you, how would you then refurbish this wheel set for me? Or is it possible?
So once the brake chew through the carbon?
Yeah.
No, you can't. You got to replace the rim.
Okay. I mean, so you can obviously you can use the hub, right?
Yeah. You reuse everything. You could even potentially reuse the spokes, although not highly advised, but you can still reuse the spokes because it's in the same spec, right? And you just lace it back up with the same rim.
But can you get the same rim from Zipp?
I don't think so. Not now. But I'm sure there are plenty on like eBay or whatnot that you can just pick up.
But they would sell just the rims, or they come as a whole wheel set anyway?
I would think rim lah, because it was the wheel then, like like how NV is right now, right? Or like even Zipp is right now. They always provide spares and whatnot. The warranty programs are pretty darn good. So I don't think even now you would have an issue sourcing out a pair of rims for these. No problem.
I mean, I don't have a horse in the rim versus disc brake battle, only because I started.
You only rode this.
I only rode disc, but I mean it's a shame, right? Like I guess because I mean I was going to say the one thing, but I'm sure there are other pros and cons. But I think the main advantage is if you chew through a rim, then at least, then that's going to be hard to replace over time. But if you chew through a disc, then
just swap a rotor and you're good to go. So there are a lot of arguments over this. So
I mean, I think this is an argument for another time.
Yeah.
And we really got to kind of really knuckle down and think about this. Sorry for all the people who wanted a
heated argument. This versus rim. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have no allegiance to any braking technology. I just want a nice, good-looking bike to ride. That's all.
But rim brakes are good looking, no?
Oh no! I mean they're great, but I mean just in terms of it's a real shame, right? Newer bikes coming out, there's just no more rim brakes. Like consumers don't have the option. I think that's a shame.
Thankfully, there are still some manufacturers out there that are still keeping rim brake alive. Not many left, but alive. So at least they're not obsolete.
Who do you stock that actually rim brakes, rim brake wheel sets?
Probably Hans.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the reputable companies that are still keeping the rim brake alive. So thank God. Nothing much to write home about as well. Hans just, on par with a Zipp 303 of its era as well. possibly better because they are releasing rim brake wheels with wider, what's it called? Inner width.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's that word? Not compatible. Relatable, yes, in current standards.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can actually fit, bigger tires in I guess the older bikes, right? I think the fit will be pretty tight.
Yep.
Okay. Should we move on to the news?
Sure. Whatever you want, man.
I mean, unless there's anything else you want to talk about in terms of the bike.
No, man, but I just love to see bikes like this around. Like, there aren't many on the roads in Singapore. Everyone all has newer bikes. Not that the newer bikes are boring. It's just that once in a while, it's nice to reminiscent, what it was pre-COVID,
Reminisce
pre-disc brakes.
Reminisce what it was like when you were 16.
Yeah. Lao liao already.
Okay, well, let's talk about the news. I want to talk about the pedals first. Okay. So, and let me set the context, right? So Favero, these are the road version of their pedals, which means that there is a pod on the inside of the pedal, right?
Yep.
Recently, they released the what would you call it? It's the SPD versions of their pedals, and it's not a straight body change, right? So it's with the road ones, a lot of the electronics is actually in the pod. With the mountain bike ones, the electronics is in the axle. So I mean, I don't think it fundamentally makes that much of a difference exactly where the electronics is, but obviously it looks sleeker and nicer, right? When you just have it all in the axle, right? So Favero does have a newer model, but only for mountain bikes. So this is the older version. Magene then just came out with a set of pedals that look very, very similar, right? So this is news that was released, but I don't think many people have their hands on these. Spec sheet read, basically plus minus 1% in terms of the accuracy, but not yet tested by GP Llama, right? So actually not a lot of information yet about the pedals, except they're very, very cheap. So we'll put the prices up on the screen, but I think essentially it's about half the price of so basically for the price of the two-sided power meters, so having a power meter in each pedal, you can buy that set is the same price as the Favero road version, but single-sided. Okay, or very, very close, right?
So one Favero buys a pair of Magene.
Correct. And they look incredibly similar, right? So again, it's the pod is on. It's got the pod on the side, so they've kind of taken
inspiration.
They have taken inspiration from Favero in terms of the external design.
But it doesn't matter, right? As long as it works, it reads well. That's all we want, right?
But that's the open question. That's one part of the equation,
right?
And I think the second part, and I don't know why I'm the one being worried about this because you're the bike mechanic, right? But serviceability, right? That we actually don't have much information on. So I've been in contact with the Singapore distributor of Magene,
which is
Ride in
Style, is it?
Riding Style, yes, correct. You've also been in contact, right, for another for another brand.
I think for a couple of stuff. Yeah. Singapore's not big. But Ride in Style, if you're looking, send over a Magene pedal, I'll tear it apart.
Well, they do have a version. Let me just bring it up, right? So they do have a version of this, and I'll send you the images that's being sent through. So I asked a couple of questions. Basically, one, how easy is it to service? Two, do they sell spare parts? And three, warranty. Right. And I think so. Let's do number 3 first. Warranty is pretty easy. In Singapore, if we figure out that they're very good replacements, and if you ever decide to stock them, I think it's a pretty similar story to all other cycling components, which is full of electronics. You send
junk it lah.
Well, you give it to them. They will get Magene to check it, but at the same I don't want to, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but basically it's going to be sent back and replaced. But obviously there may be some processes which you need to do in
The
terms
typical warranty process for any electronics.
of course, and also just to check that it's not due to misuse.
Yep.
So I think warranty is pretty simple. In terms of serviceability, I mean, he's got a photo of the pedal just kind of taken apart already. And it says takes 2 minutes to take it apart. So easy to, I guess, to easy to service, right? If you don't need to get replacement parts, because you service it, you take it out, you clean it. The bearing inside, I believe, is a NSK 686Z. If that means
so it's a
anything to you.
cartridge bearing, easy pop in, pop out.
Okay, so easy to get in Singapore.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So bearings obviously very, very simple. Pedal body, we don't know, and other kind of like the plate itself and all these things. It's not he's also asked a question to Magene, but we're not. He hasn't got an answer yet, so we're not sure about getting those parts. Which I think for Favero, they've been doing this a long time, and serviceability is pretty high, right? So I think one or two couple of major open questions. One is the performance, right, and also the availability of replacement parts.
Right.
And it doesn't. I mean, something maybe that you can check out and verify. I asked if the bodies were actually exactly the same as the equivalent Shimano or Look pedals, and if it's just a pop in, pop out. The answer is it doesn't quite look like it, but they'll check again.
Okay.
Yeah, something for you to maybe follow up on. And
only one way to find out, right? You gotta get a pen and just tear it apart.
Okay. Well, let's.
Maybe someday soon.
Yeah, someday soon. Get it, and then we can do a
sponsored review.
Is it sponsored review? No, we can. If we could, we'd love to, but I think we're a bit too small. But I was going to say, I'm going to use my favorite phrase in corporate. Let's do a deep dive. And I'll send you the photos.
Okay.
Yeah, he's so interesting and timely release, because we've got the Faveros on here, and we've got what looks like a cheaper option,
a good contender,
right? Look, I guess it also really depends on your view of power meters, right? Like if you're not competing, right, and you need something that
just reads something,
gives you enough information to kind of pace yourself. And again, I mean, like I said, Look pedals had the issue where depending on which part of whether you're stepping on the inside or the outside,
flexing or not,
they
blah.
had that pedal, or they had that issue. And again, a lot of different power meters have issues, but I think let me take a step back. Many power meters have an issue. GP Lama holds them to a very high standard. When I look at his review of the Look pedals, to my eyes and to my mind, if I was using Look pedals, I'd be okay with the level of discrepancy that he's showing.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're a competitive athlete and you have zero margin of error, then yes, Faveros, right? The one outlier to that is the Shimano crank-based power meters, which are pretty problematic. And I think some of the other Chinese ones are pretty good. So the one I have on my bike, the Sigai or whatever it is.
The Sigai,
however you pronounce it. I think the testing was, it's accurate, but it's off by a factor of something. So you would actually put on to be correct. So it's consistently incorrect.
So you have to counter it.
Yes, you have to go into the app and then add plus minus a certain percentage.
Well, that's something right already.
Exactly.
At least it's consistent, right? That's the most important part.
Exactly. So for someone like me, I just need to know if I'm riding the same bike or using the same crankset. I just need to know day to day on the same bike what power I'm putting out relative to the day before. Then I think that's okay.
Whatever that keeps you in zone 2, bro. Sometimes you just have to relax and smell the flowers and not, drink your own sweat.
Yeah. So the context is today we rode together, and I blew myself up. But Zach got dropped on a no drop ride.
Hey, hello.
Sorry to disclose, but
it was a major cram. Okay, you guys ditched me. It wasn't a drop. You guys ditched me.
Okay. We'll keep looking.
Deep dive into that in the
future. Okay. Anything else you have on the on power meters, pedals?
Nah, man. Yeah. Whatever that was said has been said. Will be said.
Okay.
All right.
The other new release this week, Zipp 303s and Zipp 353s are released. These are they? Would you say climbing wheels? They're the ones with
Climbing spec for sure.
Okay,
Climbing
sure.
spec for sure.
Did you want to talk about them?
I don't know, man. What is there to talk about? Like, I'm very apologetic about this because in this current era when everyone and literally everyone is coming out with this saw design, you got Scope coming out with that scale
But actually,
feature.
scope wheels are fantastic.
Yes.
We saw them
No
at the
doubt.
Taipei Bike Show, and they.
Fantastic
I would love a pair.
to jizz on.
We can't say that. We can't say that. We're gonna get demonetized. Okay. I would love a pair, right? If I could afford it.
Okay.
I guess I could, but not easily. So that's the problem. Okay, I got a few things to talk about, right?
Right.
I think. So rant warning. Okay, let's start. Hookless wheels. Okay. I really do not see the point of having hookless wheels because although there are some advantages, also we're told, right? There are some advantages in terms of costs, in terms of ease of manufacturing. There are a lot of issues with them. And to me, it's a slight reduction in safety for what we've been told is a significant reduction in weight and significant reduction in price. And I think that's borne out by, if you look at MV and Zipp and they're kind of the lower end range, that pricing is obviously very, very attractive for brands of their, I guess, tier, right? But to me, and again, if you look at YouTube and videos on this topic, there's always someone in the comments who says, well, I've been riding hookless for a number of years and they've been fine, right? Which to me is like, okay, well, if Airbus or Boeing comes to you and says, you know what, I can save your airfares or save you money and reduce airfares by 10% by reducing manufacturing costs significantly, but increases your risk of death by 0.1%, would you like that? And to me, the answer is a very obvious no. I'd pay the money and avoid that risk, right? So to me that's the crux of the issue. So for me in this one, I have obviously a very strong preference to have hooked wheels, and also just because then you can use any tire, right? You don't have to worry about compatibility.
They're not limited.
And I mean, I typically ride wider tires, so the pressure limit of 72 doesn't really impact me. But still, like it's just the
For your mechanic's sake, just go hook. Don't go hookless.
Now what's
for
your view
mechanic's
actually?
sake. Every time I set up hookless, I'm always clenching my butt, man. It's scary as hell, especially when it doesn't want to sit. So, tire choices do make a difference on how it sits, how tough, it is to sit. There are a whole lot of comparisons online nowadays, so which is good. But when it came out very early on, right, holy shit, we had to inflate and then hope it sits, and then massage it. And then once it finally just bang, and then sits, right, you never knew if it's too much pressure, whether it will blow out and then just sealant everywhere. I mean, I don't know. Have you seen cases of that?
I mean, there were a couple of cases, right? I mean, there was, again, I think this was about I keep saying again, but this was about probably a year or so ago when hookless was still, or maybe 2 years ago when hookless was still pretty new. There were definitely people who blew out their wheels and in different circumstances, right? Some people obviously like a clear case of user error, they pump too much. But there are other cases where people have left it overnight and then they just they come up the next day and then it's actually it's popped out in the sealant or dried sealant all over the place. So, people were not very happy, right? So for me, it's not worth the hassle, right? So I mean, obviously these new wheels are hookless, so would be unfortunately a non-starter for me. And it's a real shame, right? Because Zipp in all other aspects, right, in terms of from what I understand, they've gotten reliability of the hubs right, they've gotten I'm a big believer in wider tires and wider wheels, and they're moving in that direction, or they've been moving that direction for a long time. So for me, it's just a shame that Zipp and MV and I guess a few major brands who are in that premium tier, they're moving in this direction, because I wouldn't then care about any other feature set. It would just be non-starter, right? but let's talk through. I think the other one, the other interesting thing about this wheel set is that there is an integrated tire pressure sensor.
You go.
Okay, so previously Zipp had the tire whiz, I want to say.
Yeah.
When I say it, it sounds a little bit wrong, but maybe it's just my dirty mind, right? But the tire whiz, which was a little device you put on your tire valve. And I mean, it actually looks pretty aero, right? Like, it looks like it's going to help you with the aeroness of your wheels. So I didn't think there was a big problem.
Yeah.
But now they've put that into the construction of the rims. And I think that's obviously got some implications in terms of balancing the wheel, which I think we'll get onto a little bit later.
Sure.
There is that integration.
Right.
The other one is they have a tire. I need to look this up, but with someone else. Who is it? I'm sure if I look at the marketing, I think it's Goodyear. With Goodyear, there is a tire that is specifically designed for the wheel set. So,
okay.
Total system integration, right?
I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So Goodyear partnered up with Zipp.
Yes.
Oh.
So there's a. I mean, it's kind of. I remember Continental did something like that as well with someone else, right? They had an aero. They had like it was a really weird width, like it was a 27 or 29 that was meant to fit a specific rim.
Is it the Attack and Competition?
I can't remember.
They had a tire. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe next time. We'll deep dive next time.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well,
I'm a white collar already.
Welcome to the corporate world, mate. Now you got to learn to use email.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, you
Yes. So, and I mean, I think that directionally it makes sense, right? Like if you're making a rim, there's only so much you can do to make it better and to compete with a lot of the lighter and cheaper alternatives coming out of China, but I guess a lot of it is all manufactured in China. I know Envy's still, mostly manufactured in the US, but the ones which are designed and made in China, compared to those guys who have pretty good spec sheets, who have pretty low prices, if you're a premium Western brand, then you've got to do something a little bit different, right? So having that tire, wheel, and
monitoring system
as a total integrated system, I think makes sense from a marketing perspective. Although,
don't need it,
Well, I guess if you just want your bike to work, right, and you don't want to have to make too many choices with it, I think that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
If you know that this particular tire and this particular width has been tested with this particular rim, right, and you don't have time to look and do all your research, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of that. I love to look at different options, different combinations. So that's not something I prefer, but I think I'd certainly see the appeal with the tire and the rims, right? But the tire pressure sensor, I think, doesn't make so much sense, right? Because you're not going to stop mid-ride to go and pump your tire, right?
I see the use, like I see the practicality behind it. Let's say if you single track, you can monitor if there's a pinch flat or anything. At least you can get it out of the way sooner than later. But apart from that, it's not hard to wake up and then just or like even just pinch your tire to kind of feel the pressure. Like it really, like the cons is straight up. You have to. It adds a bit of weight, and on one particular spot, so it's not uniform. Yeah, you get an unbalanced wheel. Yeah, well, it's double whammy, right? Because you've got the sensor itself, right, which adds a bit of weight. Yep.
But you've got a bit of a break in the carbon, right? Which means that you have to reinforce that area a little bit. And then there's just complications with the manufacture of that rim that
I would assume so.
Yeah, right. That you have to introduce, just a minute ago, you guys were so big on hookless, which was meant to make
Save
the
weight,
manufacturer,
blah, 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 yeah.
make the manufacturing process easier, right? Like, and then you kind of add this, right? Again, from a Zipp marketing perspective, and Zipp is owned by SRAM, right? From a Zipp marketing perspective, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because then you have integration of the group set, of the wheel, of the tire pressure sensor, and SRAM basically makes every single thing on the bike except, well, they make a competitor or a product which will fit on your bike except for the frame, right? Everything else they make something of, essentially, right? Because they got Zipp, which is wheels and finishing kit. They've got RockShox, or I don't know which is, they have some suspension.
RockShox Reverb?
Well, they have, so they,
the AXS for suspensions.
They own a suspension.
RockShox.
Okay. Yeah, they own RockShox. Obviously, the main brand has the group set. So they do everything except the bike itself. Oh yeah, they got Hammerhead, right?
Yeah. Now they do Hammerhead.
Yeah. So I'm a SRAM guy, right? As much as you like to make fun of me for like, but I've got a Hammerhead.
They have a meme page for SRAM failures.
Okay.
So,
well, I mean, it's not failed me yet, so I'm quite happy with SRAM.
You just had a good mechanic, lah. That's what you had.
Okay. I think that's really all I want to say about the wheel. We'll put in a few links to a few news articles. You can go do the read, but yeah, it's just newest wheel set. Those are the key headline features that make it different from the last generation. If you're okay with hookless, certainly look into them. If you're not,
long story short, it's cool, but I wouldn't say it's competitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, we've been alluding to this, or we have alluded to this a couple of times. Wheel balancing. This is your forte. Tell me.
It's not my forte, lah.
Yeah. But talk to me about it, right? Because I mean, I have seen people talk about it. I've never asked you to balance my wheel because I don't really care that much about it. Tell me, 1, should I care about it? 2, how easy or hard is it? And 3, should I ask you to balance my wheel next time?
Yeah, for money, yes. No. So, I wouldn't say, off the bat, I wouldn't say it's necessary.
Sorry, dude.
Again?
Oh, God.
Take your time. Nice watch, man.
Oh.
You want me to hold on to it? Or
Yeah, just give me.
take your time.
I guess we can do a podcast like this. You guys can't see this, but he's holding my leg, which it's
Very gentlemanly of me.
Yes, and it is oddly comforting in this particular scenario. Okay,
We're gonna have one cram every podcast. Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. So if I didn't get dropped today and I blew through my legs, I'm sure I'll be cramping up right now.
yeah,
So
exactly.
thankfully, I just cramped at like the 40K mark.
Okay, I'm good now. Okay, let's. Okay, I'm just gonna sit like this, and then we can. I mean, spotlight's on you now, my friend. So
yeah. Okay. So back to wheel balancing. Off the bat, not necessary.
Okay.
Not at all. Unless this is one of those things where you start getting into like those aero freaks or like lightweight freaks, you have to get into that territory before you're even remotely interested in wheel balancing. So unlike cars where people implore that you do it because the rotational speed is so high, right? So fast, but for bikes, we barely cross 40-50 Ks on typical rides, so it's not. You can't feel it. Honestly, you can't feel it. Like the only time you'll feel it, the only time I've ever felt it was bombing down. I forget which one of the hills in Thailand, but 70+ km. Okay, that's where you start to feel like, hey, like it's starting to wobble, and then it makes you think, oh, is it tire? Is it rim? Is it untrue? Blah blah blah. But yeah, so that's where tire balancing or like wheel balancing comes into play. So very rare occasion where you would need it. So unless you're racing, you're into marginal gains, then yes, do it. But the gist of it is, because the weight is not uniformly distributed, right? off the bat, you have that stem, that valve stem there. So that's a good indication that, that's a chunk of weight as opposed to the opposing end. But tires can be imbalanced as well.
Okay.
You got other factors, rim tape. I think that is most of it that should cause a lack of uniformity. So long story short, do you need to balance? No. Is your wheel unbalanced? Yes. Do you want to balance it? Up to you. You won't feel it less than like 40, 50 Ks. No harm, no foul. Yeah.
But I guess, if you're the kind of person that goes around with, your bike in hand and say, listen to my hub sound, and then you spin it quickly and then the imbalance comes out, well, then you definitely need to balance it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So that's the other place that you can kind of see. I mean, I was being facetious, but obviously when you pull up the back, and then you spin your crank, that's where you can actually see if it's not balanced or not, right?
Either the bike will just like start hopping, or if you are really bombing down at 70 kms, or if you're that strong and you ride 70 flat, right? Then you'll feel it a little only. It's really marginal. But you don't have to go to a shop to do it. You really don't need a professional balancing kit, because you can buy weights and stuff and you kind of stick it on. Honestly,
stick it on where though?
On the inner side or the outer side of the rim.
Okay.
Whichever you can find. But you really don't need, the weight is very marginal as well, right? Because like how much can, a rim tape or a slight imbalance in the tire offset. So all you really have to do is, you kind of just let it settle, you find the opposite end. You could put tape, tape works as well, just a counterbalance, and then, you can check again. So once you spin, it shouldn't kind of like wobble back and forth. It shouldn't seesaw, it should just stop wherever. And then you got a balanced wheel.
Sorry, I've completely zoned out. Thanks for letting me know. I know your work is technical.
You're just lazy. You want me to do it.
Yeah, exactly right. And anything else that we were supposed to talk about? Nothing, right?
Nothing. I think that's about it.
I think we're done. But last week we missed out on two things, right? One was an outro, which we'll do, right? And the other one was and this is our inexperience as YouTubers, okay? We forgot to
We're calling ourselves YouTubers, really.
Exactly.
It's a very big leap.
But we forgot to tell people to like and subscribe,
Wow.
right? We're a bunch of amateurs, right? Okay, so guys, we're very, very new. So if you do like this kind of content, please do comment, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, right? So you let us know that all the hard work that we're doing in terms of putting this thing together is worth. Sorry, worth is a bad word. I think the better way to put it is, it's just to help us justify our sweat and tears and blood in terms of all the work we're doing to put the podcast together.
It's just a way for us to hang out without our spouses complaining, right?
That's true. And to be clear, less work for me, more work for you, because you're the one doing the editing. And thank you very much, Zach. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. I love you too. I watch the bikes as well.
Yeah, you do a lot of things for me. Okay. All right, guys. That brings us to the end of the Progression podcast. Episode 2, Season 1. Thanks very much for joining us, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Ciao.
Bye.